And here we are. We're live. Hi, Kate.
Hi.
Welcome. I'm going to get people some time to join me. Hi, ER. And as people join us, and maybe if you can write in the chat where you're from, so Kate can understand kind of the geographic spread of where you guys are from, because organization has also a cultural component sometimes, so it's always good to know. Like, I'm from Europe, from Copenhagen, and in Copenhagen, there's not a lot of space in houses. So maybe it's a different way of organizing our stuff than maybe the US with the huge houses with the double fridges and things like that. So tell us in the chat where you're from, so Kate can maybe adapt a little bit her presentation to where you're from. But welcome, everyone. Today, I've invited to the Me Time Live Kate Vanness, and she's an expert in organization and had this genius idea to take the lean process that stems from the Toyota manufacturing process into kind of a process that any company can use to create, what's it called?
Just more
Efficiency,
efficient. Yeah.
reduce waste, and change processes towards something better. And she said, why don't we use the same types of principles into the home? Because I see so much extra work and extra time used because we're just not very efficient about how we run and organize at home. And mind blown. Kate's publication is called, I have it written here because I know it. Where is it? It's gone.
It's sorted state.
Introduce yourself and tell us about your publication so you can like save my behind.
So thanks, Naomi. So my name is Kate, and my background is actually very much in like the workplace, specifically laboratories and sort of production biotech. And my publication is called Sorted State. I welcome everyone to check it out. And the kind of big why that I started on this journey is that when you think about how much time you spend each day looking for something, on average, it's 16 minutes. And you think 16 minutes, that's not too bad. So I'm looking for things throughout the day, spend 16 minutes. You add that up over the course of a year, it's 97 hours. And who wouldn't like 97 hours? And so, when you think about this from the corporate landscape, if you have 40 employees, you basically pay 2 of them to just look for things all the time. And so the reason why Lean and 5S organization and Six Sigma all came about was really to sort of increase efficiency. And then with 5S specifically, it's to reduce the amount of time that you spend looking for things and organizing your workplace in a way that makes it easy to find stuff and that things aren't getting worn out and unexpected. And so it's kind of just this way of reducing the amount of time you spend looking for things. That's really what we want to bring it down to. And so you can think of this like, you don't want to spend time waiting for things. You don't want to have too much inventory. You want to make sure that you make what you need and not have a lot of just in case material. And why I'm here today, and I guess why I'm on this journey of personal growth, is I was really kind of just getting burned out in the corporate side of things. I needed more bandwidth, and so I started bringing this work home that I was doing professionally. And I really, it sort of occurred to me, like most of my colleagues in Lean and 5S were male. Like it was a very heavily male dominated field, and of course, they're not going to think like, hey, maybe I should apply this to how I do my dishes or how I do my laundry. And I thought, I'm going to democratize this. I'm going to make it so that everyone can understand how these concepts work and apply them to the home, because this is a place where every single one of us could gain a huge amount of efficiency. So that's my intro feel, as it were. And I think, Naomi, it ties very well into your publication of Me Time, because when you can reduce the cognitive load and reduce clutter, you can actually open up your time so significantly. you can really make sure that you have enough space in your mind as well as in your physical space to take care of yourself. And there is a UCLA publication in 2009 that looked at this, the sort of correlation or causation really of the cortisol hormone, which is our stress hormone, really increases dramatically when your space is cluttered. Even if you just say yourself, like you're self-reporting that my space feels cluttered, people are reported to have much higher levels of cortisol in those cases. So this really it's not just I'm organizing my space to make it look pretty. It's really, how do you get more time for yourself? How do you reduce your stress? How do you sort of get back space for personal growth?
That's amazing. And I can definitely subscribe to clutter equals stress, and stress equals a lot of different things, which impedes our critical thinking, creative thinking, because we're holding too many things in our brain. Like, you can be in a meeting and be like, where was that umbrella that I've been looking for for half an hour this morning, and now I'm drenched in this meeting. Instead of like being present in your meeting, you're like, that thing that happened this morning is now affecting me for
Yeah.
forever. And that's kind of the thing. We're always thinking how to be more efficient at work, but never how to be more efficient at home. And there's a time, especially in a woman's life, when the kids come and the stuff in the house quadruples, that
Mm-hmm.
start having conversations, the grown-ups at least, being like, how do we make this more efficient? And I've been through the conversation with my husband, and a lot of it was about chore sharing, but I feel like we can do more. So let's
Mm-hmm.
start with the clutter. Let's start with the
Yep.
quadrupling of stuff in the house. What do we do about that, Kate?
Yep. So in the terms of lean, we call this inventory, right? So excess inventory. And I'm going to start by giving you kind of an anecdote that happened to me personally. And then I want to talk a little bit about kind of the science behind what drives us to do this. So to start, my sort of, when I had my first kid, and, I did some cloth diapering for a while, but then when we switched to disposables, I remember being like, I'm going to be efficient. I'm going to get a subscription service. It's going to come to my house. Um, in hindsight, I can now look back on that moment with a little bit more self-reflection. So I was getting a box, and inside the box was a box. So I was opening up boxes, and then inside those boxes was 6 packages of diapers that I had to find a place to store. But, I didn't have to go to the shop to buy diapers. So it's like you get this idea in your head that I'm being more efficient because I'm buying in bulk, so I'm only dealing with it once. But what you forget with that is you have a huge amount of oversupply, and you have to track that, and that tracking actually taxes your brain. You have a lot of mental work that happens to manage the stuff in your house. And you have to track it, you have to decide it, you have to remember, you have to make sure that you don't have too many of one size because babies are always growing. And so what I did when I moved to we're in Australia for 1 year, and here we don't have. I'm in a 75 square meter apartment. It's quite small. There's not a lot of storage, right? So how do I, bring my work home in this case? And it's like like I said, in hindsight, it makes so much sense. But now I have a just in time mindset instead of a just in case mindset. And I buy 1 pack of diapers every time I go to the grocery store to buy milk. We go through milk and diapers at about the same rate. So it's very easy for me to be at the shop already, buy a single pack of diapers. And then that single pack fits very nicely onto the shelf where I keep my diapers. I don't have to think about 6 packages of diapers taking up space and then slowly tracking down. So that just in time mindset is very critical to like how you think about your inventory problem. And to sort of dig into the science a little bit on this, all humans have a scarcity mindset by default. And this really comes from our historical, like hunter gatherer days of if I see something that's a critical resource, I need to grab it and hold on to it because I don't know when I will see it again. The truth is we don't live in that kind of world anymore. We don't need that mindset that used to save our lives because right now it's just causing us mental stress. So that cognitive household labor that we're doing to track inventory is really causing us to have inventory fatigue. Think of like how many bags of pasta do you have in your cupboard right now? Do you know off the top of your head, Naomi?
Too many, but my husband is Italian, so and there's a there's a cultural component
Yeah.
there. But let's say it's hard to open sometimes, or
How
kind
many
of yeah.
how many apples do you have in your cupboard right now?
4 or 5.
So that like tunnel vision of the impulse buy, like I need to when I'm at the shop, I just need to buy, I need to stock up. You're really not having a just in time mindset. You're having a just in case mindset. And you need to
So,
think about things. Yeah.
what about a on sale mindset?
On sale mindset is also a problem. It's like that I feel like I'm going to miss out on an opportunity if I don't just do this now. And the truth is, stuff's always on sale. Like, when is the last time you went into a shop and something wasn't on sale? So when you subscribe to that selling mindset, you are still spending money. And a lot of times it's like buy 10 for something or 25% off if you spend 150 euros or dollars. They're still tricking you into spending more money. You're not saving anything. And so if you are really like aware of what you need and you shift from the scarcity mindset into your abundance mindset and you have kind of a plan for all of the food that you're buying, it really makes that cognitive burden so much less. So, I can tell you right now I have 4 apples left. And that's because I bought a pack of 8 apples and I have 3 days left until I go shopping. Like, I know exactly how many bags of pasta I have in my fridge or in my pantry just because of what day we're at in the week and what I had planned. I don't keep a lot of excess inventory just in case. There has never been a case I couldn't just go to the shop and buy something if I needed it that day. So I know it.
One exception, going back to the Italian, you can find pasta at the
Yeah.
supermarket, but you don't find the good pasta at the
Yeah.
supermarket. But let's say with that exception in mind, I think also in Europe, and I'm speaking here for the entire Europe, so yeah, forgive me for that. We don't have a lot of storage in like cities, especially in apartments. So we always buy enough for it to last us, but also not go bad. And it's kind of a very kind of tricky balance to find,
Yeah.
but family will find its own. So I totally subscribe to that, but I think the trick is into the stuff that's not perishable. So the rices and the
Mhm.
pasta, the canned goods and the diapers and all the
Yeah.
stuff that you can like accumulate somewhere in a dark cupboard somewhere and then
Yeah.
you and all of that creates so what you're suggesting in terms of an inventory problem, clutter problem, is to buy what you need, don't over
Yeah.
accumulate stuff unless it's from Italy on a very good sale and bought from Italy and brought as a souvenir or other places like that. Maybe your husband, when he comes back from India, he brings some good stuff
Yeah.
that you can find, right? But apart from that, the big exceptions, they are more sentimental, and kind of like the pleasure and the joy in life. To not surround ourselves with a bunch of stuff is just so liberating.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Very true.
and then, do you have anything else to add on this inventory thing, or do you think this is kind of the golden rule to kind of think of?
Yeah, this is kind of your golden rule, right? So in every time you're about to go to the shop, just remind yourself, take a second, remind yourself that like I have enough. I have enough. I have enough material goods. I have enough space in my brain to say no to this deal. Uh, and come up with shopping systems that help support your goals. So think about, when I go shopping at the grocery store, I actually like on Friday night, I will clean out my refrigerator or just like check it all out, see what I have. And then I make a list kind of this is what I'm going to shop for this week based on what I already have, what went bad, and make a plan. So that way on Saturday morning, when I'm ready to go to the grocery store, it's all done, right? I don't have to think when I'm in the shop about what do I want to make this week. I realize that is not possible for everyone to do. I wouldn't recommend it unless you want to really get down to that nitty gritty. But come up with what works for you. Spending 5 minutes to come up with a plan before you enter a store really does help you stick to that plan instead of just going into a shop and just hoping for the best.
I love that. And I think it applies to a lot more than just groceries. If you see, you know, kids t-shirt on sale, but then you're like, summer is ending and my kids are growing, makes no sense, even it's a
Mhm.
big deal and 50% off and all that jazz. But the rule, just to repeat it for the people that joined recently, is that buy just what you need, because if you buy in bulk or because it's on sale or things like that, then you're going to have to deal with managing extra
Yep.
inventory, where to store it, keep track how much is left, and so on. Then you might end up that you're caught by a surprise when you run out of the thing, because you don't have the habit of just always being aware of what needs to come into the
Yeah.
house, and just make that kind of more present living part of your kind of shopping experience and
Yep.
the way you bring things into the home. So, the other thing that we wanted to talk about is another very important topic in the household. It's laundry. And
Laundry.
how do we do laundry in a way that's more efficient? Because I discovered by chatting with Kate that we're doing laundry in a way that's kind of inefficient. So, what can you tell
Yeah.
us about Kate?
So I think laundry is one of those very sensitive touch points. Everyone you hear laundry and you just kind of stiffen up, and it's never ending. Especially if you have little kids. Laundry never ends. And it's hard to remember that the purpose of clothes are to make sure that you look presentable, that you show to the world who you are, and that you're not wasting a lot of time getting to that point, right? So w- I look at laundry two ways. So the first thing that I do when it comes to my laundry is I try to reduce the waste of any sort of extra motion or any sort of, we call it over processing. My kids, they do not care about folded clothes. They're going to rip them out of their bins. So I don't fold my kids' clothes. I sort them into the appropriate pants, shorts, shirts, and then I just put them in the bins. Because then if I've spent 10 minutes folding laundry and my daughter dumps it on the floor, it's like a dagger in my heart. And I don't need to live with that stress anymore. So I made a conscious decision. Like, I'm not going to waste time folding my kids' clothes because for them, that doesn't add value. And then the other thing is I use like when I sort my laundry, either before I put it in the washing machine or as I'm sort of taking it off the clothing line, uh, I do an inspection. So I'm not just mindlessly like, oh, let me just fold my clothes and put them away. I actually take a second as I'm folding to inspect the item. I'm inspecting it for wear. I'm inspecting it for, do I actually really like this thing? Is it fitting properly? Does it have a stain that I forgot to treat? Because when I go to get dressed in the morning, I've made a decision in my head before I open my closet. This is what I'm going to wear today. And I go to my closet and I pull it out. And like, have you ever gotten that like feeling in your gut of like you pull out something and you're like, this is what I'm going to wear today. And then you put it on and you realize there's a stain on it or there's a small hole and you're like, well, now I have to rethink through this decision and I'm disappointed. So you use your time during the folding process to do a conscientious effort to inspect the items. And it is a mindset shift. It really takes this from being, I have a chore to do, to I have an opportunity to make sure the rest of my week goes smoothly. This is how you change the perception of laundry in your head. And I can't say I do it every time, right? Some days I'm just like, I just got to get the laundry back in the cupboard. But every time I have a chance, I'm always thinking through, as I'm picking up an item, does this still work? Does it still fit my life? Does it need to go into seasonal storage because it's getting warmer or colder? And all of that happens in the moment that I'm actively touching the laundry and not like a once a year purge of my closet. So that's kind of how I would recommend people think about laundry is this is an opportunity for you to assess what in the process is adding value to the person that's receiving the laundry, and how can you reframe the laundry process so that it feels like it's doing you a favor and not just a chore that needs to be done.
I love this. And I guess to add to that from personal experience, I'm also kind of a fan of organization just by myself. And as you were speaking, I'm like, yes, I'm doing laundry the right way. Yes. Because I always think, especially for my daughter's clothes, I was like, is it ripped? Do I throw it out? Do I put it in the donation bin or a resale bin? So I have like so many different bins. My husband is like going bananas, like, what is going on here? I have a system in my head that I haven't communicated to him, but in my head it exists
Mhm.
where every laundry piece either belongs in a different part of the house, so I pile them on where they need to go, or so on and so forth. I'm trying to do a million things while I'm doing the main action of doing laundry, and I think that saves a lot of time because if you have a 2-story home or a 3-story home or a palace, let's hope people here have palaces, you need to think, where does this thing belong to? I need to carry it upstairs. What if I put everything and then I carry it upstairs and like half of it was actually
Mhm.
upstairs and things like that? And it's such a waste of time. I am a lazy person in terms of I will not go downstairs from upstairs just for one thing. I will create a bucket of things that will gather until it's full and then I go upstairs downstairs to take it. It's
Yeah,
not efficient to go there for one thing. So maybe I'm lazy, maybe I'm efficient. I don't know.
they're the same, right? They're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, like the good side.
Yeah.
The good side and the bad side. Um, and that's the laundry part. And of course, there's more discussions about laundry, like the style of laundry that you want to do. Like my husband wants to just put everything in one load and stop
Mm.
till it's gonna explode when water hits, whilst I want to sort by color and types of fabric, things like that. But I'm not gonna go through a therapy session now. Is this kind of like what we want to learn as the main rule with laundry? Try to think of the purpose of that piece of clothing, if it still fits, if it's time for a seasonal change, if it has something that needs to be fixed or a stain that needs to be treated or things like that, or if it's in the iron pile or whatever else it needs to happen next to that garment in order to kind of make it more efficient than just
Mhm.
pile everything that's clean up, put it in a bucket and be like, it's the next person's job to figure out what
Yeah.
happens with this stuff.
Yeah, we really want to, kind of recognize that laundry is a job, and the job has to give value to our lives, right? So the value, the outcome is the ease of getting ready in the morning, the protection that clothes are giving us, the sort of projection that we have when we're wearing the clothes. That job is accomplished by the laundry process, but how can we make that process work the best for us, right? So laundry is a process that we're doing, but we want to make sure that every step in that process is adding value and not introducing things like rework. Like the worst thing is pulling something out of the washing machine and you find a tissue had disintegrated and everything is linty. So like needing to do rework, that's a big thing that everyone hates. So, think about your laundry process as how can you make it so that the value that comes out at the end is the greatest thing possible for you in the activity of getting ready for your day. And so that's kind of how I think that's the big take home message is laundry is a process. You want to make it as much value add, we call it like value add as possible for your day. And as least wasteful as possible.
I love it. And because we are at 25 minutes into the call, and I don't want to keep us for very, very long, but I also want us to get as much information as possible from our conversation. Is there anything else that we can organize better? Was it, you were saying that we might not be so efficient by organizing things by category? There was a better way?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is something that is a break from a lot of organizational philosophies. This is what I call the golden zone. So when you are in any space doing a job, this could be I'm in the kitchen cooking. This could be I'm in the bathroom getting ready for the day. Your golden zone is going to be the things that are immediately in front of you. And they might, if in the case of the kitchen, they're on the first shelf of the cupboard or on the countertop. This is like your prime daily use stuff. So you use a coffee mug, you use a water glass every day. You want to make sure that you have enough inventory in that space to get you through the daily grind. Then within one reach, so sort of like the second shelf or the drawers below, that's going to be your 1 week inventory. So that could be your like week inventory of cloth napkins or silverware. Um, Wine glasses is a good example. I use wine glasses every week, but not every day. And I only, every week maybe use two of them. So that's what I have in my 1 week inventory. Anything that's sort of that you use less frequently than that, you actually want it to be a little bit less accessible, a little bit further away because it's taking up valuable real estate in your golden zone. So, it's definitely something that is a little bit of a break from how a lot of people organize. But if you think about every day you use 2 coffee mugs, maybe you have 4 in your daily golden zone, but you have people over once a month for coffee. So you have an extra 6 mugs. You put them in a clearly labeled bin on the top shelf, right? You're not using them every day. And then it also reduces the amount of decisions that you have to make every day as you're pulling your mugs out to fill them with coffee. So this is doing 2 things for you, right? It's freeing up space for the things that you need all the time. And it's also reducing the amount of decisions that you have to make about which thing to use. Because even if you have 8 mugs and you have to decide which one to use, even like if you're not really deciding, you think you're just, oh, I'm just reaching in and grabbing one, it is still a decision. And so by thinking about your golden zone as this is your most valuable place, I need to put in it only what I need right now. That's it's a very different way of organizing than most people are used to. And it can be very counterintuitive.
I have a question about the golden zone.
Ah,
Are we in the golden zone? So in the kitchen, you're sitting by the cooking top. Is that the golden zone, or like the center
yeah.
next to the island wherever the cooking is and the
Yeah.
sink?
It's
That
wherever
can be.
you are doing, yeah, it's wherever you're doing the job. So you have a job to do, and that job is to make dinner. Wherever you stand to do that job, your golden zone is within one arm's reach of you. And then anything that is above or below.
Be above one arm, under one arm. That's a week. The
Mhm.
stuff that you need for the week, like if you have guests sometimes or someone for dinner, stuff like that. And then everything else, what's beyond 1 week? That's like stored.
Yeah. So anything that's like, beyond a week or month really doesn't belong in this space. But, I've also lived in tiny, tiny apartments and larger houses, right? So I've lived in the full gamut. And I know that for some people, that's not an option, right? Like sometimes you can't move your extra excess mugs to another location. But just think about how you can utilize your prime real estate in your kitchen to help you do work as fast as possible. So, some other examples are things like you might have all your spices together in one location, but there's only four that you use frequently. Those should actually be in a really prime location. And then the rest of your spices could be moved to another spot to make more room for the olive oil that you use all the time. So it's not, necessarily just hardware, dishes, plates, cups. It's also the common consumables that you're using in your kitchen as part of the product of making dinner.
Would you do the same kind of organization for your fridge, or does that have a
Yes,
different? Okay,
I do. Yeah,
okay.
I do.
So first shelf, or like the most. Do you have like a kid shelf that's like their height where they can help themselves for snacks?
I
So
do.
that's
Unfortunately,
their
it's
golden
mostly
zone.
used for peas.
Uh, I do that for my, like, the lowest shelf is where we keep like cheese snacks and stuff that my daughter can reach, and then the fruit is there, and then the stuff that she is like, that's chocolate spreads and stuff that's very high up.
Mhm, yep.
So she has to work for it to get to it. But maybe that's like an inverted golden zone.
it's her golden zone, right? So the fridge is helping her do a job as well.
Okay.
I mean, and it's sometimes it's a little bit like my pantry is actually split into three places because I have part of my pantry where the kids can reach. And I want them to be able to open a drawer and help themselves to some dried apricots without needing to get me. I want to foster their independence. So it can also feel a little disjointed, right? So part of my pantry is here, another part is in this lower drawer. And that's why I think a lot of standard organizers don't usually you want to like lump things together, you create a pantry zone. Whereas I'm actually recommending something that is a little bit more based on the outcome of what you want that space to be. Like, how do you want this space to support your life? And how can you make sure that it's not just working for you, but also working for other members of your family?
I'm thinking that we're also nailing the organization pretty well. Maybe not fully the way you're saying in terms of cups. I still keep all the cups together because I have nowhere else to put cups. Maybe I could like transfer them somewhere else. But like there's also those things that you do rarely, but you do it once in a while. Like I am not a baker.
Uh-huh.
Is not a baker, but birthdays do come once in a while, and some baking might need to happen. So that is the stuff for like, up high, need a ladder to get to it because it's a once a year type activity. Is that how you'd recommend it?
That is something I'd recommend. I would also sort of encourage people that if you're really only baking once a year, is it that important that you bake?
Yes, very important. Because
Okay.
I want
So then that
to water that you can do it yourself. Like, of course I can
yeah,
buy,
this is
but and you
this
want
is
to,
part of the personal journey that
yeah,
everyone has to, right? Because for every person who says yes, it's that important, there's another person who's like, actually, no, I could just outsource that activity. And like how much space and mental like kind of do you get back by not having to manage a rolling pin, a baking tin, the things that really only get used once a year to bake a cake.
yeah, yeah. I get it. I get it. I can definitely look through them and see that I need one of each, and if I have more, then it's way it's overkill. I love this golden zone idea, and I think it kind of speaks to the old way of organizing houses where silverware and plates for occasions would be in this like in the dining room in this
Hmm.
beautiful piece of furniture maybe displayed or something, and then you'd have the everyday plates and forks and knives that are
Hmm.
at arm's reach and so on. And I feel like sometimes the way things were done traditionally have a lot of value that we rediscovered sometimes in modern
It's
times.
so true.
uh, Grandma had a point there.
You should.
And
So there's some very cool like old newspaper articles that talk about you can buy this new kitchen from Sears and it would show you with these little lines all of the paths that you would take in the kitchen to prepare a meal. Like this used to actually be part of standard kitchen design planning. People don't do that anymore. They don't think about how many steps do I have to take to do a process. They're thinking about the aesthetic design of a kitchen. And so that's kind of again where we're going back to this like maybe they, there was a lot of good ideas that have kind of gotten lost in the shuffle over the years, and it would be nice to rediscover some of those.
And it probably answers the question of how did our mothers manage when there were no Pampers, or at least in Romania in the 80s, there were no Pampers and no dishwashers or washing machines. And she had a daughter and raised her and so on without all of these things that would make her like that for us are granted and part of like a
Hmm.
need for us. And I think that comes to being efficient and also not over consuming. If you think of the closets of our grandmothers and our parents, they weren't overburdened by a bunch of stuff. They wouldn't buy as much as we do nowadays because it's like this fast fashion and the trends that keep on rolling and so on. So I feel like a lot of the things that I'm learning from organizational experts really reflect how I've seen like family members, older family members live their lives. And I love that kind of realization because it also felt like our parents, our grandparents had more time than we do, and maybe that's one of the reasons, right? That they weren't overwhelmed by doing a bunch of laundry just because you have to have
Mhm.
this shirt in every single color, and I don't know, all these things that we feel like it's a need, but otherwise it actually isn't. So I think something that's about very core to me time, and I think also to your publication, is this thing about intentionality.
Yeah.
Put thinking about what the end goal is and making sure that the process actually fits what you want to achieve from there. And if we have the same type of intentionality, not only towards work tasks, but also home
Hmm.
call it, or what we do in the home as women and men, parents, to our children, and also children once they grow a little bit, have their own little tasks and stuff like that, is all towards saving us time and
Hmm.
mental space so we can do what we love. And you actually, one thing about laundry and dishes is that it gives you time to actually think
Mm.
also about other things. Like if you're organized and things belong where they need to belong and so on, you're just left with a kind of relaxing process sometimes
Hmm.
of just processing the laundry or the dishes. And in that time you can think about something that needs to be done or some thoughts that you're having. You're reclaiming time, but that requires some planning in advance. Otherwise, it's
Hmm.
impossible. You're overwhelmed, you're under stress, your house is a mess,
Yeah.
laundry is not done, kids are screaming because they're hungry, you don't know where to find the pot because it's dirty, and everything spirals. And I'm speaking about from experience, both as the chaos picture and the one of tranquility and ease. When we've decided to kind of pare down, remove some of our old things, like, oh, we want everything ironed and stuff like that. We reduced a bit our standards and simplified, and it really transformed our life and
Yeah.
gave us more
So
time to be
true.
with our daughter, to think about the food and prepare it together instead of like just feeling like you're constantly doing chores,
Yeah.
which is not like the best feeling, let's admit.
You said something that I thought was really profound a few weeks ago when we had a do session chat, which, by the way, highly recommend everyone check out. They're amazing. But you said your home is your enterprise, and it's so true. And people need to, take a step back and realize that if your home is an employee, if your home is part of, like, all of the things in your house are employees in your enterprise, are they doing their job? Are they doing the right thing for you to get to spend more time with your kids, to get to think about big things and not just, oh, I need have this to-do list that I need to get through. And I just thought that was such an impactful sentence.
Thank you. Yes, and that's part of the bigger philosophy where I say you're the CEO of your own life, that you're in the driver's seat of your own life. And part of that is also being super intentional about your time and what you do in your home, because let's face it, it's 8 to 12 to 18 hours spent in the house, and it can be pleasurable and create an environment that's clean and welcoming and people feel good in it, or it can be total hell and you want to escape
Hmm.
it. And obviously we have a choice in it, and it's about being intentional. And also, maybe we can wrap up with this: change management. And how do we get everyone on the same page with organizing the home, with how we want to feel in it and what we want to do? Can you tell us a bit about that, and then I'll let you.
Yeah. I'll kind of try to summarize it in three key points. So the first is get everyone bought in on what the future state looks like and have them help come up with how we get there together. So you can't just say, like, this is what's happening, this is how it's happening. It's very much like, this is the shared vision for the future. How are we going to do it? So things as simple as, like, my daughter's sweatshirt was found everywhere that you can possibly imagine. And so I said, she was always looking for it. And I said, like, let's go find a solution together. Let's find a place for your jacket. So we went to IKEA, we picked out a little flower hook, we put it in the house, and that is now her sweatshirt spot. And she picked it out herself. So she is bought in and she executes. The second thing is communicate, communicate, communicate. Any change that you make, you have to talk about it probably 10 times as much as anything that like if you had thought you were going to have one conversation and it would be over, no. Plan on talking about it 10 times. That's okay. It's not nagging. It's just like it's communication. You need to do it over and over.
Okay, that's
And
my husband. I'm gonna say it's not nagging, it's communication.
it's communication.
Reminding you of what we agree.
Yeah.
Love it.
And then the third thing is like, when you make a change, you have to be prepared for that adoption of change to take time. And it's not a reflection on you. It's not a reflection on them. Change is hard and everyone approaches change differently. And you can't feel like a failure. You can't throw in the towel and be like, well, if no one is going to do this with me, I quit. That change journey is something everyone has to go on. When you've announced a change to your family, like, hey, we're doing this now, you've had a lot of time to think about it. You're already at this, I've adopted the change mentality, and they are just learning about the change. So you also have to get them to about the same point as you before the change is adopted. So that change management aspect really does take time, and you can't expect them to get from where they were to where you are super fast. It's going to take some time.
Is there anything that can help in this communication, like charts or things to like remind little kids or husbands um, what needs to be done
Yeah.
or how it goes? Because I was daydreaming of creating a color sorting chart for the laundry so my husband understands that dark navy and black go together, but stripes with dark navy don't go in the same pile because you're destroying the little whites that's left. And stuff like that, because I feel like it does feel like nagging when you keep on saying it, even though, yeah, it's communication also, but it's also nagging. So sometimes does visual stuff help or
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah. Visual management systems are definitely gold standard. So, if you want your kids to put their toys away, give them clear bins so they understand these are where my toys go. If you want your spouse to put the laundry sorted properly, get color coded laundry bins. Here,
Mm,
this is the laundry bin where dark clothes go. And you can make little labels as well, but having something that's easy to identify without even reading goes a long way. So yeah, visual cues are great. Having a 5-minute powwow once a week instead of it being like, I told you, once again, I pulled a navy thing out of the whitewash. If you have it be like a 5-minute conversation at the end of the week, how did things go this week for us as we're on this change journey, as we're changing our laundry system? What worked well for you? What didn't work well for you? And then you go next, right? So you can have this be a shared vision for the future by having it be an open and engaging conversation instead of it feeling like a one-way street.
I love it. What if they just don't care and they're like, yeah, 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 and then they just don't do the thing? Then
It happens.
common, it's not a common journey. I need to bring them on the journey. That's
Yeah,
maybe
I
the
mean, there's two sides of this, right? So you have to bring people on the journey. You have to get people to buy into what the future state looks like and why it's important. The why is so valuable. But then there's the why for yourself. Why do you care about it so much? Do you care about it enough to overcome someone else's apathy? Does it make you so happy, or does it make your life so streamlined to be able to compensate for someone else not caring?
Mm, exactly. It's a cost to benefit analysis for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
And I have to say, for the record, my husband is great, and he's great at like working with the systems that I envision. And I'm not great at communication. Sometimes I'm like, I decided all of the wooden spoons go in this thing, don't communicate it to anyone. And they're like, where the hell are all the wooden spoons? So yeah, there's always room for better communication, better organization. I hope this live with Kate and myself was food for thought of how to think about your day-to-day interaction with your things, with your home, with your family, and understand that it's an opportunity to be more efficient, save some of that time for what really matters: the family dinners, the board games, the hugs on the couch, and all those beautiful things that make it all worth it, all the chores and all
Mhm.
the parts. So I want to thank you for joining, Kate. And if you want to learn more about Kate System, Sorted State is her publication, and I'm pretty sure there's a button here where you can easily press and subscribe to her, so please do that. If you're not subscribed to mine, you're invited to join it. It's about saving time, designing your life in a way that you save time from time wasters and put it towards building a life that you at this point might only be dreaming of, because intention and actual action is how we get to our dream states in our future that is better and more aligned with who we want to be, what we want to do, where we want to live, and all that good stuff. Kate, do you have anything to say before we end the live?
Nothing major. Thank you so much for having me. And sort of my tagline to everyone, you're killing it. You got this.
Oh, love it. Love it. Guys, you're killing it. You got this. Sort your state or subscribe to Sorted State. And then you're going to learn a lot more about home organization in a way that makes sense and makes life a bit easier to go through. And we'll see you at the next live. I don't know what the topic will be. Surprise, surprise for everyone, including myself. But I hope to see many of you there. And this is going to be recorded, so all the subscribers will get an email notification with the recording, so you can watch it or share it with a friend that maybe would appreciate it or things like that. Thank you for today. And thank you, especially to Kate, for joining us and telling us
Thank you
all.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining. And I hope you have a beautiful day or evening, depending on where you take care.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.